talking now.
Yeah, that's it, Paul.
You're not supposed to talk now.
This is the 10 o'clock news from the EVC, brought to you by Geotab, My Energy, the AA, and EV Civils. And I am John Curtis. Today, I'm joined by roving reporter Paul Kirby, and Sarah Sloman might drop in, so get yourself a cuppa, as we are about to get stuck into sustainability and e-mobility news. But first, some news from the EV Café. We're going to make some of you stars. Each month, we'll showcase your videos, showing some aspect of why you love driving EVs. Your video should be filmed in landscape, that's sideways, and no longer than 1 minute long. Send your film of you, your EV, your charging experience to hello@evcafe.org, and the best will feature on our live monthly webinars. You can be the stars. Send us your videos. In other news, Geotab, one of our founder sponsors, has announced it has surpassed 3 million subscribers, demonstrating the continued high demand for data intelligence. The company, which recently marked its 22nd anniversary, said surpassing 3 million connected vehicles is indicative of the impact that data insights contribute to organizations. Neil Kors, chief exec of Geotab, said, 2 years later, despite the disruption of a global pandemic, we have reached another significant milestone by adding a further 1 million net new subscriptions. Now then, Geotab have been sponsors of the EV Cafe for the last 12 months. We'll leave you to draw your own conclusions as to what brought that remarkable growth. What do you say, Paul?
Definitely. I think the association with the EV Cafe has made all the possible difference in the world. I mean, but it is great to see, joking aside. Well, we're not joking. It is all about us. Anyway, no, it has been a global phenomenon in that, Geotab are the largest in the world now by some margin and have been for a while. And what I think is making the difference for them is that they take the data, because I hate data. Data, schmata, there. But they give insight. They give insight with the data, and it's about using the science to produce stuff that's relevant to help employers running fleets to drive more safely, more efficiently, more sustainably, and transition to electric vehicles. All good in my book.
Quite right. Moving on, MG will be at Fleet Mobility Live in October, and so will we. It's all about us, you know. MG will debut its all-new MG4 electric hatchback and its facelifted MG5 in front of a fleet audience for the first time at Fleet Mobility Live at the NEC on October the 11th and 12th. Get your tickets, people, because it's free. The biggest exhibition show in the fleet calendar's back at the NEC and will feature a packed lineup of informative seminar sessions and the latest products from exhibitors in Hall 20. We will be covering this launch and everything else that's new and approved from Fleet Mobility Live. You can register at www.fleetandmobilitylive.com/_register. Get it sorted. Be there, see you there, get your coffee.
Just register, people. It is going to be a good event, and there's going to be a lot of innovation on show. Some new vehicle launches I can't announce just yet, but I know of a brand new vehicle that will be there for everybody to see, and it's not a car. Yes.
Could it be a van, Paul? Could it be a van?
There's a teeny possibility. Which is all good, but it is a great opportunity for fleets to get together, to learn from one another. This is a classic opportunity to collaborate, and that is why it will be great to be there and be at the EV Cafe. Hopefully there'll be coffee and cake on hand to sit down and listen to us chat with some of the industry's leading people.
There will be coffee and cake on hand if Paul brings it. On-street residential charging has got a capital boost, with Barnet Council making a multi-million pound investment in on-street residential electric vehicle charging spaces. So for all those people who say, I can't have an EV because I don't have off-street parking, Barnet have taken the lead. They're one of the very first to get lots of government dosh to put on-street charging out there. It's installing more than 500 charging points designed to be flat and flush. A phrase I like, Paul, flat and flush. What do you think?
Flat and flush like our heads, John. Like our head.
Flat and flush with the pavement to enable residents without driveways to charge their EVs easily and locally. Barnet Council's awarded the contract to Trojan Energy to deliver £4.65 million worth of project, £3.5 million of which has been secured from the government. The same government that says, rush out and buy yourself a new kettle for £20 and save yourself £10 every year on energy. How can they be so good at some things and so bad at others? Anyway.
But you're right, John, and it's great to see, what was it, Barnet do that. Bedford have also, in my local town of Bedfordshire, we are seeing lots of on-street parking. So it is becoming easier to run an electric vehicle, be it car, van. I'm not sure that you park trucks beside the road, but anyway, you don't, in fact. But yeah, for cars and vans, it's getting easier. It's still not perfect, but we're getting there.
Who was it who said, I think it was Henry Ford, who said, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
You're right.
That's it. With EVs, you can if you want to.
Absolutely.
Anyway, moving along, Grey Fleet is getting way out of hand post-pandemic and is not being managed as part of sustainable travel policies. Almost half, 43% of employers have seen an increase in the number of employees using private vehicles for business travel post-pandemic. New research from Alphabet suggests. Now then, that's not a massive surprise. Public transport is a problem, has been a problem post-COVID, where we've had, yay, the wonderful Sarah Sloman, where we have had people choosing to take their cars out rather than get on a train with a mask, or on a bus with a mask, and it's a pain and all that stuff. Those risks are now mitigated largely. We've moved down to stage 2 in terms of COVID infection. So is the time now to start addressing Grey Fleet? Paul, Sarah, some comment from you. Grey Fleet miles have increased by 43% since we've seen post-pandemic. What do you think? Should we be managing this as part of sustainable travel?
Definitely. Can you hear me, by the way? I think I'm coming through the car.
Absolutely through the car.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you asked me that, because micromobility and anything other than single occupancy vehicle use went down massively during the pandemic, which was great. And people got very excited about that. But it very quickly picked up again, which suggests to me maybe it's a little bit too much effort. I still think we should be investing in workplace facilities like walking and cycling lockers and showers, so that it's actually enjoyable and part of your day to do your active commute. That'll see the number of people driving going down, which of course, as I always say, frees up road space for essential EV users like Fleet.
What's really interesting to me, sorry, Paul, go on.
Well, no, I was thinking, during the pandemic, I think a lot of people moved and moved away from where they work. So the sad reality is I think that they may be now having to drive more, relatively, less often, but more relatively than when they did, because I think there was a migration away from the place of work because actually we don't need to do it anymore. So Grey Fleet, being that fleet that we use of our own personal vehicles for business travel, is probably going to grow. And also, I don't think people are still seeing the tax benefit of normal non-electric vehicles, but there is still significant benefit of electric vehicles, of course, from a company car user point of view.
Yeah, I think we need to get Grey Fleet well and truly underhand, and I'd like to see reporting for organisations for how their staff get to work. So if you choose to drive your car into work and your work provides a 1,000-place car park, that should be reported as part of the annual reporting. Let's show who really is making an effort towards net zero and who is just laughing and saying, we don't really care. Net zero is at risk.
It really depends if you've got a workplace travel scheme or not, and it's something that people overlook, but it's really important if you're going for tenders or bids to prove your ESG or environmental sustainable goal, because it's about asking people to think about it inside. At school, when they say when you wear your uniform you represent your school inside and outside school, it's a bit like that where you work. If you're blasting around in a petrol or diesel but being very, very good at work, well done, you've managed to get a third of your life in order. Let's try and make sure that it's outside of work as well.
And just to show that we are not just gobbing off, Paul, what are you currently sitting in?
A Kia e-Niro. There we go.
Fully electric, beautiful and gorgeous. Sarah, what are you currently sitting in?
A 4-litre Mustang. No, I'm not. It's a Tesla.
And of course, everybody knows there's no such thing as a 4-litre Mustang.
Okay,
Anyway,
I'm really nearly sorry then, because that annoys me. I tried to be clever and I failed, and you called it out, and that's just what has to happen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because they're 5 litres.
Well,
5
just
litre
goes to
V8.
show I don't know, which is a good thing.
Right, anyway, there's a 2.3 EcoBoost as well. Driverless and autonomous vehicles. Just 1 in 20 drivers, 6%, say they'd feel safe traveling in a driverless car. And almost a third, 31%, would only trust a driverless car if they could take over the controls. Now, I've sat in a car with Paul Kirby. He's been driving. And frankly, I didn't feel safe driving or being driven. It's a scary prospect. What do you think? Driverless, autonomous, is it really going to happen, or is this some work of fiction? Because the government are aiming to have them on our roads by 2025. Sarah, what do you think?
Well, I was very lucky to see this firsthand in a government exchange trip to where we went over to the Netherlands, and they don't treat it the same. They use it as a kind of shuttle bus situation, so to encourage mobility hub concepts where you leave the car there and then use it like on a big industrial estate or like a tram line or a train track. Like, so you treat it. You don't have to take control because it's a train essentially, but it's fully autonomous. And the guide even stood in front of it at full speed, and it did stop. So, that was very risky of him to show us that, and that gave us all faith that it could work. But I personally don't know if I want to be chauffeur driven. If I was going to do that, I'd get a bus.
And Paul?
I'm with Darren, actually. Darren,
What is
out
that?
of Amvena. Sorry, Darren. That it's definitely coming. And where some of the biggest gain is of course in the commercial vehicle world. We have a real struggle for drivers at the minute, and if you could, a silver bullet to make a truck autonomous, they're doing regular routes, they're always on the motorway doing large chunks of it. It would be very, very easy and probably very helpful actually to bring a lot of that into the autonomous world. And I think certainly we'll see autonomous as almost like a diamond lane on the motorway in America. You have a diamond lane. So autonomous vehicles can go in these lanes or whatever to speed the adoption. But I think it will be a gradual thing. We're not going to suddenly turn it off one day and turn it on another. But I think definitely in the commercial vehicle world, there's tremendous value of bringing autonomous vehicles to the party.
And we've got a live question coming in, a live question from Andrew Bray. Andrew joining us from LinkedIn, and he's asking, my neighbour's looking at installing a charger for the street. They're in Harrogate, not up to speed with the regulations. Can we do it, or do we need permission from the council, the DNO, and so on? I would suggest you need help, but Sarah?
If it's on the public highway, as in the pavement and the deeds of the household don't show it to be public, then that's a bit easier. But then you just need to do it on someone's driveway, probably better. Or I'm just about to start a scheme in the community centre instead. So it's their land, it's their car park. So that's working better for us as a small community. Because again, we can't park outside our houses either.
One of our good friends, Neil Durno, actually asked the local council to put a charger in his locality, and actually they did do that. And I think that is one of the things that a lot of councils have got as schemes, where you can submit a request to say, listen, I'm having an electric vehicle, please can you fit one of your on-street chargers nearby my house? And whilst it can't be guaranteed to be in front of, it's something that you can do. And also it's a good thing to do more of this connected curb, Ubertricity, whatever it is, the guys that stick into the lampposts and things like that. It's a good way of increasing the opportunities for those guys as well. So I think it's approach a council in the first instance.
Definitely approach council, proactive engagement, and Connected Curb have been doing a lot of the rural places. I saw a letter come through our door about, would you like a charger or not? So yeah, they're a good shout.
And a final thought is liability. If somebody puts an on-street charger out on the street, or indeed on their own drive, and you plug into it and something happens to you, where does the liability for your injury sit? Think very carefully before undertaking that sort of activity. Seek advice, guidance, and permission where necessary. Risky business, but it can be done. Until next Friday, it's goodbye from me. It's goodbye from Paul and Sarah. Thank you for joining us from the streets of Chester and wherever Sarah happens to be today. This has been an
Gloucester.
She's been down in Gloucester. She's been feeding them cows again. This has been an EV Cafe production. Other sustainability news services are available, but they're just not this fun. The EV Cafe news is regulated by Sparky from My Energy, Tucker from the AA, installed by EV Civils, monitored by Geotab, and thanks to lots of coffee. Any query regarding the accuracy of this news should be addressed to Boris de Pfeffel Johnson. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Oh, that's lovely.
I love how Sarah talks over the